Yo, what's up, everyone? It's Jose Home Cup Jr. back at it again with episode 3 of the Home Cup review. I'm with my co-host, Vlad, driver of the 17.
What's up?
So we just finished up our Michigan race. It was pretty wild, very controversial finish. Just gonna go through it real quick. Sean White was on pole in the beautiful Bush red scheme. It was a lot of hard racing. That was the theme of this Michigan race. A lot of side drafting. Side drafting was the key to get to the front. A lot of runs were held up because of side drafting. Fords were the dominant car in the beginning, but Kyle Kajigal, he's coming back to his mid-season form, and
That's
he
right.
dominated the ending portions of the race. Talk about him just coming off of a suspension. He made arguably the best move of the season so far. He sent it four wide into turn four, and made it stick. It was absolutely unbelievable. I'm pretty sure we'll show a picture of it here. And then the controversial finish. It was Kyle leading Sammy Dimmick with James Ashburn in hot pursuit. And Sheridan from allegedly a chase horn, causing the 38 to spin into the infield, went airborne, and he had to be rushed to the hospital. So, and the race would end at a caution, with giving Kyle Kajigal his first win of the season. There's a lot of impressive drivers during this race. A lot of young rookies stood out. Vlad, you want to give us your impressive driver?
Yeah, for sure, Jose. And like you said, it was crazy race. Prayers up to Chase. Hope he's doing okay. Hopefully, he can be back in the car for next week at Eldora. But my impressive driver's got to be my teammate Kevin. We've been working him into that six car. Just like Ben Elwood transitioned from the 84 to the 54. We moved Kevin over to the six, and he's a guy who's steadily made improvements. We're trying to get him into the chase, sort of get him in the program. And he was my drafting partner all day long. Like you said, the Fords were able to get it going. We were hooked up. And part of that reason was because of Kevin, and his great drafting, his great pushing. And, he really impressed me. He's a guy who finished P7. I finished P5. So we were right around each other for the whole race. And he's my impressive driver of the day. Jose, who's yours?
I talked about Chris Lauder earlier. I'll talk about another Ford driver, Alejandro McAndrews. He's rookie season. He's in the 14. Just clawed his way up. He didn't have the fastest car. He said himself, but was able to work with said controversial driver Matthew Sheridan, and was able to scratch out a top 10, giving him a second, and 10th are his best results of the season. That's my impressive driver, and that pushes him to 18th in points. And we'll do a quick points segment with Vlad. You want to go on?
Yes, sir. So points, you really don't see a lot change at the top end. Sawyer had a P18. He's still your points leader, but just barely. It's a 24-point margin between Corey Johnson, who finished P8. Corey continues to pile up the good runs. Sammy, Kyle stay the same. Honestly, I believe the top seven stay the same, other than JJ. He might have moved down one spot or two spots, but really where you see the change is Ben Elwood, who continues to drop his last three race results, P22, P39, P25, and we may be harping on this a lot, but from the way that he started this season and the way that he's running it right now, it's really quite the fall off. I moved myself back into the chase. We're sitting P10 right now, back-to-back top 5 runs. It's been a really good effort for the 17 team, but what this also does is there's been some big shakeups. Matt Sheridan, like you mentioned, who gets DNQ'd for this race, and he's going to be suspended for the next two races for during the 38 and just launching him into the air. I'm sure the intention wasn't for him to get injured and hurt the way he did, but when you make dangerous race moves like that, that's what's going to happen, and he's going to serve a two-race penalty and also the DQ. And I know that this has been mentioned before, but Shane, who suffered penalties earlier seasons of Home Cup, got bigger penalties. But nowadays, Jose, as you were saying before the podcast, you need to now compensate for the shorter race schedule. We're not 36 races anymore. We're 25. So the way that you do your suspensions now has to be different. So he'll get a 2-race suspension as well as the DQ. Now, around the cut line, you start to get a little bit of a shakeup. Mike DRE right now is +8 in points, works his way back in, and Gavin Borski is going to drop out being -8. And then at P14, you have Lewis Hamilton, who is right behind Gavin. Kevin Morales is 3 points behind him. And then Shane Lehman. Did you think that you'd hear this name come back for this season? Lehman has, started to compile a couple good finishes. He had a P4, a P7, and then just recently a P9, and he's really bringing it all together. Another guy who kind of continues to drop as well is Alex Burnout, and obviously, like we mentioned earlier, Matt Sheridan drops to P19. Now, let's also give you an update on Chris Lauda. He moves up to P24. He was sitting at P27, so with his 6th place run coming off of the suspension, he's got crazy speed, and he's also able to make it up. Kevin O'Donnell, our guy in the 6, he moves up to P27 as we continue to work him into the chase. Now that the point segment is over, we are going to bring on our special guest for the podcast. Me and Jose have both mentioned him already, and that is Season 6 champion, sitting 3rd in points right now, Sammy Dimmick, arguably one of the fastest drivers in the sport. He knows how to get it done. Just a super consistent guy, and let's go ahead and bring him in. Hey, Sammy, can you hear us?
I got you.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Doing good, you?
I'm doing great. Hey, appreciate you having a chance to come on. Me and Jose have some questions for you. Jose?
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. First of all, what's up, Sammy? This is the first time we've actually talked in person. It's a pleasure to have you on. It's an honor. Thank you for a lot to me. So just gonna ask you a couple questions. I want to ask you, man. You came to Home Cup last season, jumped in the 34 alongside your team owner Chase, and you came and shocked the world and won a Home Cup championship. I know we're talking about last season, but just tell us how that was, what it meant to you, and just tell us how it felt.
It meant a lot. Honestly, coming into the season, I didn't even expect to make it that far. Like, especially in the playoffs, like I didn't even have a win coming into the playoffs. I expect to be like, maybe get a win season overall. But to go out and just finish top 5, top 10 every single race to the point where I'm like 70 points above, I think, Kyle before the last race, and then go out and win it. It really meant a lot. And that race was also the most stressful race I've running like 9th as well. I think I was quoted to say that was the most stressful 7th or 9th place finish I've ever had, but it was very cool to go out as a rookie and win the championship. So, yeah.
It was really cool because you were, when people think about Home Cup, they think of, unfortunately, they think of the toxicity, how competitive the field is, and you were last season were able to just avoid all that BS and just kept your nose clean, kept racking up those top 10 finishes, and it led you to the title. It's really cool to see that, and hopefully a lot of other drivers can learn from you and kind of keep their nose clean and just think about driving their car. Now let's get away from that. We're gonna P3 with your P2 at Michigan. Let's talk about your win at Bristol. Do you remember? I know that was a couple races ago. Tell us about that. You only your second win in Home Cup. It seems like you've been here forever, but you've been a dominant car ever since you jumped in that seat. So tell us about your win at Bristol and how your season has been so far.
Yeah, well, coming into Bristol, I was a little anxious. Like, I wasn't feeling great with, like, I have a championship and I only have one win. Like, it doesn't really feel right. So coming in, running in top 3 the entire race, made a little contact with Kyle with like 3 or 4 to go. Off him and also Vlad, who's charging on the high lane, but luckily he wasn't able to get us to, like, I think turn 4 and we were able to slide across the line. So very refreshing to win again in this series. And I feel like we're hitting on all strides right now. Just finished second in Michigan as well. So
No,
I think we're having a great time.
that's great to hear. I mean, I want to talk about Chase, you know, how he brought you on. Obviously, there was that little scare at the end of last season where you kind of left, kind of didn't. But when you jumped into the 500 this season, you know, you were up there. You were basically, I don't know if you were leading, but you two were tandeming, and he. Just tell us how it's been with Chase Horn. Obviously, we're not going to talk about the wreck he had today. You know, your relationship with Chase Horn and your teammates at FRM in general. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so FRM pretty much, these are two guys that I've known within the diecast community for a very, very long time. Like, Chris has been my right-hand man, my go-to guy for, like, ever. Like, whenever, like, teammates, like, he's just been there to help. And Chase, I've known since I started. Been called me up into this big series in the first place is a big honor. And, yeah, we did get in a little... He did leave me out at Daytona, which I was a little upset about. We've pretty much gotten over that. We're doing well so far.
Oh, so yeah, I mean that's cool to hear. It's really cool. We get to have another driver on here, really express themselves because we're not just you know, people behind the screen. You know, we want to be able to show you guys out, give you guys some, you know, some life behind the pictures. So any last remarks that you have to say before we send you off?
Yeah, well, I can't wait. I think Eldora's next, so honestly, I can't wait to just slip and slide around and hopefully get back in victory lane next or Wednesday, right? You race Wednesday or is it
Yeah, we do race
Wednesday. All right, so yeah, can't wait to win again Wednesday.
Well, that'll do it. Sammy, thank you so much for being a part of this podcast episode. And also, like I said, again, thank you so much for being part of the Home Cup series. That's all I can say. You've been a pleasure to talk to.
Thank you, Sammy.
Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you, Sammy, so much for joining us for our driver segment of the podcast. We don't do one every week, just so we don't wear out our options. But it is great to, you know, get a driver in here, do it every once in a while. So let's go ahead and hop right into our race preview for the next round, and that is Eldora. Now, you know, Eldora, we do it a little bit different. We'll do it through heat formats. You know, you have 4 heats. Your top 4 from each heat make it. And then you'll have your B main, the drivers who didn't make it, they'll go. Your first place will go in the B main. Then you got 3 last chance qualifiers, so that'll put you up to 20. And then the 20 are gonna race in the A main, and then that'll be winner take all. So you got to survive first, but once you survive, then you get into that A main. Anything can happen. Let's go over some of our previous winners. The first year of the series would be Alex Burnout. He would get the win. He would eventually go on to be the champion. Season 2, dirt specialist Braxton Weaver would end up with the win. And then Season 3, Chasen Luther, probably the best driver not to win a championship. Another great guy on dirt in Season 3. Now, that doesn't end at all because Season 4 is Trent McDaniels. He's a guy who still races to this day. And he is, you know, another great dirt guy. But last season, it was Kyle Kajigal who was able to get the victory at Eldora, and you know, he just won last week, and it's gonna be pretty great to see them battle. As Sammy said, he's looking to win as well. You know, Eldora is one of those tracks to where you're gonna have your guys who are gonna run up front, but you really get to see who stands out on dirt and who falls back on dirt. It's really interesting to see all that transpire. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of Home Cup. Jose, thank you so much for doing the series, and we will see you guys in the next episode.
Yep, thank y'all so much. Appreciate y'all for watching. Thank y'all. That's about it.